With this, we come to the very concluding session for the day, which is the keynote session on diversity, equity, inclusion, and beyond compliance to true transformation. So for this, I would like to invite Dr. Rima Chowdhury for coming up on the stage and taking the session ahead. She is the President and Global CHRO Datamatics Global Services Limited, leading the global people agenda across the US, India, Middle East, Europe, and Philippines, with over 25 years of experience in corporate and academia. The companions balance of high tech and high touch culture and advocates for AI in the workplace. So Dr. Rima, she holds the key roles in renowned organizations like IBM and Sony Pictures Network. She is an international mentor for University London and has received multiple HR Excellence Awards, including recognition as one of the 50 most influential HR leaders in 2015. So with this, give her a good round of applause. And Rima ma'am, over to you to take the session ahead. Thank you very much.
Everybody, it's so heartening to see a full audience here, and I absolutely loved the session before, and I loved all the energy, and there were lots of takeaways. I hope from this session, and I have about 20 minutes. Yeah. I hope there will be something for you in these 20 minutes which might inspire you to probably, bring in a few of those for your organizations. At least that's the mindset with which I have curated this. Yeah. So thank you for being in this audience today, and thank you for this opportunity given to me to share some of the things that we do. So any of you had been following the ODI, India-England, that's happening at Eden Gardens, Kolkata? Anybody? Yeah, I see some show of hands at the back. So this has been important for multiple reasons. Not only for the excitement and passion that cricket as a game generally brings in, but also for another reason. So there was a stand that was inaugurated there, Jhulan Goswami stand, She's one of the greatest cricketers that India has produced, and it is such a huge statement in the field of DEI, in the field of empowerment, in the field of nation building, because that one act has kind of signified that every girl can dream, and there are possibilities and opportunities for every single person. I bring this up at a time when we have also learned that Mr. Trump has removed or put a stop to all the DEI programs that go on in US, and they've been asked to go on paid leave. So why is this important? I know all of you are aware that it's important for multiple reasons. Today I'm going to talk about some of the things that we do to further this cause at Datamatics. And before that, who are we? So I am a part of an organization which is about 12,000 odd strong, a presence in India primarily, but again with strong presence in Philippines, US, UK, rest of the world. When it comes to our services offerings, we are there as an IT organization, but we also have a huge array of BPO services and omnichannel contact centers. We also operate in products. We have our own intelligent automation products, and we help almost all leading banks of India and even globally to better some of their customer engagement and employee engagement processes as well. So that's quite a diverse repertoire of offerings, actually. Yeah. So for quite some time, we have been in the space of social transformation, and I'll tell you how. So there was a time when Lijjat Papar was a huge case study. So if any of you know the model of Lijjat Papar that they followed, so it was initiated by 7 Gujarati women who were absolute trailblazers who were leaders in their own field, and they put together this concept of a cooperative where women would make these papad, and it would then the distribution channels and everything was set up. But that allowed so many women to work from home. And this idea this idea gave birth to a lot of ideas, even in the IT space. I was talking to our founder, Dr. Lalit Kanodia, a couple of days back, and incidentally, Dr. Lalit Kanodia is the founder of IT industry in India. He founded TCS, and later he founded Datamatics. And he mentioned about this case study, and he said, Rima, that from that time onwards, I mean, this story was so prominent, and it touched a chord at multiple levels, that if we are able to tap this population, if we are able to tap these women folk who are wanting to make a mark to their family's livelihood, income, and all of that, there just has to be some way where they can balance out their family responsibilities, their responsibilities as mothers, and still contribute to the family's income. So what we did was, this was a collaboration with JSW, and in one of the villages in Karnataka, that was Bellary. So we gave tech-enabled work to the women of this village. To a great extent, the behavioral economics part also played a role, because when we nudged one woman in that direction, over a period of time, that acted as nudge towards all the other women, many women in that locality, and one by one, they started getting trained in the IT services, and they turned around the work that was given to them, and finally we were producing that as output to clients. So these were the early days of what we call rural shoring. In other words, it's impact shoring. It has immense possibilities, and also because today, look at the picture that India is presenting of itself to the world. It's a great image. In a way, the image is a little conflicting also. Because on one hand, we have these women who are raring to go, who are there in every possible field. I started my talk with the cricketing world, but they're there in possibly every single field. And we also have this entirely rural population, which is probably spending a lot of time in farming, agriculture, animal husbandry, all these kinds of activities, and of course, their day-to-day chores. But to a great extent, we have issues of lower pay there. We have issues of inequality, and that's also quite rampant. So out of our initiative, we had this entire village Datahalli, which was kind of progressing forward. And the kind of social transformation that happened there was huge. So I had a couple of videos to show you, but it was not possible for me to send it, the huge ones. But when we spoke to some of the women there, they mentioned that it has impacted them in ways that they had not imagined. So what happens is, when women start earning in the rural parts of India, they have a much higher say in matters. That voice becomes amplified, many, many times. And some of the other initiatives that we have had, and I'll talk about one a little bit in detail. So we have an association with United Nations. The connect is through the work that we do for diversity. So they have a gap analysis tool. And I would urge many of you, organizations or leaders who are working in the DEI space, to explore this particular avenue, because this gap analysis tool actually helps you understand where you are when it comes to these practices. And if you know where you are and you are given a grade and a tag, then basis that you can actually improve with one condition. You have to have a very strong recording and reporting system. So whatever is happening in the organization has to get reported at regular levels. So basically, it's about do what you say what you do, record you've done it, the old quality management principles. So we are a partner there in that tool, and we take that religiously. And the good thing about us is our CEO himself is a big propounder of this philosophy. And over a period of time, we've been able to take multiple significant strides in this field. And one of them is the launch of Datamatics Diversity Charter. Now, by diversity, generally we tend to think of gender diversity, but we are absolutely mindful of the different kinds of diversities that exist in the workplace. There is racial diversity, there is gender, of course, generation, qualification. In our organization, the undergraduates and the PhDs coexist, and there is respect for all kinds of stakeholders in the organization. So there is so much that we have done for people who are from the marginalized sectors. We have adopted slums in Maharashtra, and we have worked towards the betterment of women and lots of economically underprivileged people there. So I would like to draw your attention to the aspect of prejudice. And this is something which is so real. So I can talk about myself. I'm a pharmaceutical engineer, and I remember immediately post-engineering college, I was there working with a chemicals giant, making Dettol and Lysol on the shop floor. And I remember I was the only girl that time, with about 200 men on the floor, and we are all doing the same task. Albeit I was in a bit of a supervisory role by way of the scheme that I came into the company, the government scheme. And the kind of glances that I got that time, those were not laced with any negative feeling. Rather, those were laced with a feeling of empathy and sympathy. And that was more about, what are you doing, dirtying your hands with Dettol, Lysol and all of that. शादी कर लेती टाइम पे किसी के घर पे रानी बन के रहती. Now, how do I explain to that group that that is not my ambition or aspiration? Because Rani ban ke rehna has a tag. It has an attachment to a Raja as well. And I want to be, the Raja of my own self. So, not that it was a negative feeling, I reiterate, perhaps I learned to understand that from a lens of empathy, even at that point in time. But there are these prejudices that will always remain that, are you really fit for the job that you do? Shouldn't you have been better off elsewhere? Times have changed. And when times have changed, different other things have come into the picture. Have you all heard of Howard and Heidi experiment? So this was a very famous study which happened in Harvard, and I must tell you about this. It's interesting. There were two classes. Imagine there are two groups here, group 1 and group 2. And a CV is given to everyone in the room. This group has the CV of someone who is a venture capitalist, and this group also has the CV of someone who's a venture capitalist. And they are asked to assess the CVs and come up with the, whatever they think of the CVs. Would they want to work for this person? So time was given to both parties, same time. And after that, the results were out. What did the groups have to say? So group 1 said that this person seems to be very bright, has been very successful at a very young age, and seems to have achieved so much, totally achievement-oriented person. And I think I would love to be a part of his team. The name of that person, Mr. Howard. The other group, very successful person, the CV of a very successful person is there with me, and looks like this person has achieved a lot in life, and however, could also be a little bossy, maybe a little aggressive, and could be a bit of a taskmaster, perhaps. I'm not too sure if I want to work for this person. Name of the CV, Miss Heidi. And the CVs were identical. This is where prejudice creeps in. And this is where the topics about artificial intelligence are so very much pertinent in today's world. So this made one thing glaring about which Ms. Sheryl Sandberg had mentioned in her book, Lean In. And that mentioned that success and likability are directly proportional for men, whereas they are inversely proportional for women. I don't know if any of you have experienced it, or if the men who are here, if your mothers, sisters, friends, colleagues have ever told you if they have faced it or not, but research says that this is a very prevalent aspect, and hence removing prejudices becomes so important. So when it comes to this entire rural population that I was talking about, I'll just take it a little ahead to the tier 2, tier 3 cities as well. We have a huge presence in cities like Nasik, Pondicherry, and we have a lot of work that is done by these people. And this work is in the areas of, US taxation. We train them and they become absolutely equipped to do this. And there are times when on the floor I have seen the ratio at times is 70% women compared to 30% men. So it can go to that extent. And mind you, the one point which is very, very prevalent in our entire diversity charter, and that is merit. Unlike most of the companies which have diversity targets, which means you have to have X number, Y% in your workforce, we do not have any such target. Because targets can lead to lots of biases, because targets need to be fulfilled. We do not have any target at all. Our target is only merit. But our target is also to create an inclusive work culture where they can thrive. So some of the initiatives that we have in various parts of India, Philippines, the one which we hold very close to our heart is women mentoring. So every quarter we have these esteemed women leaders who could be CEOs, sports persons, somebody from defense sector, entrepreneurs. So they come and address my global women workforce and talk about their stories. The stories are diverse. The stories are about victories and struggle. The stories are about how they have used different kinds of allies in their success journey. And typically, the one impact that has in people's minds is, I remember one of my female colleagues had once come up and told me that I belong to that village in central India where people like us, we are killed even before we are born. And here I have come, I'm a techie in an urban city, in a metro like Bombay. And when I hear about the stories of some of these successful individuals, I feel if they can, so can I. We have these instances where, so we were talking about the LGBTQ plus population. So I have had a CEO who has come up in our forum and told us how she coped with the situation when her son came and told her that he actually wanted to be the daughter that she does not have. And that coming out into the open and then acknowledging that I have a beautiful soul as my daughter. So when the lady was sharing all of these, so many of my staff, and incidentally my staff is 35% plus LGBTQ plus in our 6 offices in Philippines, they mentioned, this was so inspiring because these are the battles we fight on a daily basis. When it comes to the workforce, the drop that we see when women come back post-delivery, right, or don't come back. So that's where we have a huge loss every year. So one of our initiatives is Welcome Back, where we not only have a grand reception waiting for all these women who come back to workforce, but we take care to ensure that whatever the person has missed in the 6 months that have gone by, we must bring her up to date and, you know, teach her and train her on the latest technologies that have come up. So that's something which is very dear to us. We have a number of DEI training programs, unconscious bias workshops, workshops which we do on emotional resilience and how to increase and enhance that. And we try to stay connected with all our population around the globe. One more thing that I should mention. So it's not only about India. You know, we tend to think that we Indians would have that need of comfort and warmth in corporates when we step out of home and go to another environment. But actually, every nationality is the same. So last year, I was addressing my US staff in Michigan on June 19th. So that day is celebrated as Juneteenth, which commemorates the time when slavery was abolished in US. And in my audience, I had both black and white staff, and of course, staff who came from different races and all of that. And when I was telling them about the stories of slavery that time and how USA has come out of that phase, and there could be so many of them, the next generations who are actually sitting in the audience. Later, one of them came back and told me that, you know, my grandmom was so happy to hear that here is this, you know, Indian leader who comes and tells us about the stories of emancipation that America has seen when it comes to an abusive practice called slavery. So basically, it's about catering to different groups and ensuring that they all feel integrated to the mainstream. Out of the various community outreach activities that we do, so there is one which we are very proud of, is our association with Dakshana. Dakshana camp in Pune actually caters to all those children who come from underprivileged backgrounds, families which do not have more than 6,000 rupees as their monthly income. So they're put into this campus, and the bright ones, the bright students, they have to, of course, crack the exam. And then through a rigorous training of 1 year, they prepared themselves for IITs and other engineering colleges and come out with flying colors. So from Darshana campus, we have so many people now working in the likes of Microsoft, Google, and these kinds of organizations. Right? We are very proud of this association. We also associate with OGQ, Olympic Gold Quest. Again, this is the community sports arena because physical well-being is an important dimension for us. And we have enabled athletes from different parts of India to get coached, groomed, and we provide nutrition support to them, and some of them have earned Olympics medals for the country. So this is our diversity charter, which talks about equity in the workplace, inclusive environment, and affirmative actions. So recently, in one of the award programs that I was a part of, not award program, it was actually an interview that was going on, whereby, you know, after that they could have chosen us to be worthy of an award or not. And they mentioned that, Rima, you have this whole slide which talks about so many initiatives. So is it like you pick up 1 or 2 initiatives a year and do that? So let me answer that for you. And I think somewhere in the audience, my team member Rashmi is sitting, and I told them as well, we have HR people who are accountable with these KPIs. And they get done every year with a calendarized approach because unless and until you have people responsible and accountable, things don't happen or they fall into the cracks. So DEI should not only be something which is there on presentation, it should be an active and integral part and a fabric of what we do. So if you want to know where your organization lies, coming from a researcher background, I do have a tendency to bring in research frameworks into everything. So let me talk about HBR framework, which you may want to use. So this talks about your DEI stage. And actually, the stages are aware, compliant, tactical, integrated, sustainable. So we are somewhere there in the integrated phase and trying to be better, but the idea is for all of us to be as sustainable as possible. So when it comes to my entire leadership team, I'm a part of the executive committee, with the CEO being the biggest champion of DEI in the organization. As a leadership team, we all work towards this and try to ensure that we nurture professionals from all backgrounds. There was a slide earlier with the percentages. As a company, we boast of about 40 to 43% women in the organization. Number-wise, about 350 people with disabilities, out of which over 50% are women. So we have all of these demographics, and very importantly, 2 out of our 5 non-executive independent directors are women. So which is a 40% board representation for women, something that many companies vie for. And this is our latest initiative, looking at the number of women who drop out from the tech brackets every year. We have this campaign running right now for the women in technology. And through all of these, we are hoping that we would be able to inspire some people, certainly. So the list of awards that we have earned over a period of time, and like I mentioned, for us, it is not about the numbers. It is never about the numbers. It is about the ecosystem that we create and nurture. And some of these things, by the way, have been published in some of the research papers that we have co-authored. If you look up my name on LinkedIn or Google, you may have access to those. So thank you. With a video in case they're able to put it up. But nonetheless, I'm there for some time. In case you wish to connect with me, please do. I will be happy to answer your questions. I guess I don't have the platform now for Q&A because time is running out. Yeah, thank you so much.
Ma'am, to come and felicitate